So I want you to use feeding time as a chance to work on his decision-making skills. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have him out all geared up like you normally do, leash on, e-collar on, easy. And then I'm gonna be prepping his food. And I wanna make sure when you're doing this, if you're practicing with his meals, you're fine. But if you're cooking your own food or your other pup's food, make sure you have treats on you that Garner can have, because what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be rewarding him with the food that he wants when he makes a good decision. So what I'm doing here, I don't actually want to ask him to sit or down because I want him making that choice on his own rather than me having to tell him everything all the time. So all I'm going to be doing is telling him no if he jumps up. He's usually pretty good about listening to my no's because I have a lot of value behind them. You know, he knows that there's going to be some kind of consequence. If your no's aren't that strong and he doesn't respond very quickly, then you have a couple options. You can use the e-collar as per usual. Don't be afraid of going a little higher. He's a terrier, he's a tough little dude. Most dogs don't work too high, like most dogs don't really need above a 10. Some dogs do. He's one of those dogs. So don't be scared to go up to higher numbers. You want to go up to what works, you know, not what you think is high, but what works for him to get his attention. We can also, of course, use his leash. Just pull him off the counter with the leash, get him back on the ground. Or you can bump him off with your hip, you know, not knocking him over, but just nudging him off the counter so he's back on the ground. And then we're going to give him a second to think. So I don't want to reward him for being on the ground right after I have to tell him no. I want to make sure that he's committed to it. He isn't doing it just because he got in trouble. I want him thinking, well, that didn't work. Well, what should I do? And I'll sit, or I'll down, or I'll wait, and I'm gonna tell him good, and I'm gonna reward that. So he's learning that he gets what he wants. He just hangs out and waits for it to happen. You might have to do a couple repetitions of no first before he realizes that that's not gonna be effective, and he has to try something else. If he's really struggling, he's just not getting it, and you're just really want to kind of move things along, you can't ask for a couple reps of sit or down, good, give him a treat, break, sit, good, give him a treat, break, and then give him a chance to think and see what he does after you stop asking him for a sit. But I want to try to have him doing it on his own. So we're just going to get his food out, we're going to get his bowl out, and do the whole process. Good. We've already got some practice with this. So he's doing this pretty well for me. What is that? Good. So if he's sitting, I'm just going to tell him good and reward him for staying on the ground. Good. Good. What's nice about this is we can use his normal kibble, so we're not giving him extra treats. He's just getting what he would be eating in a day anyway. Good. He's the sort of dog that it's pretty good for him to work for his food. So when we're practicing meals, this is what they'll be practicing. Of course, he's being very good. He's not going to be this good for you because, hey, come here. Obviously, he's used to being a lot more excited. He hasn't had these repetitions. Garner, come here. Good boy. See if I can't get him to jump up. What's that? What is this? Good boy, you're being too polite. What is that? Does that smell good? Does that smell good? You can even step away from the counter for a minute. Nope. Let's see if that will get him. Nope. So see, he's thinking. He smells good, smelly wet food. He wants it. Of course, I'm watching him. That's going to be how it is for a while with him, but that's all right. He still has a hard time controlling himself even when he's being watched, so we can challenge him just by stepping away from the counter when there's food on it. I want to see him actively make a decision. So I'd like him interested in the food, and I want him to be aware of it, and I want to see him make that choice to do something apart from jumping. What you gotta do, bud? That's gonna work. Good. Nope. Good. So when I tapped him there and he barely responded, he said, "Oh, I'll get off the counter." I was at a 20, just to give you an idea of how high he tends to work. Don't be worried about, going too high. It's not really going to be an issue for him. We want to make a point and not have to keep nagging him with no's, no's, no's. I want to very quickly say, hey, stop doing that, and have him offer better behaviors. Good boy. Good dog. And that's it. You can see he's pretty good for me. I got the smelly cat food out, and that's kind of a challenge. And when it's human food too, he has a harder time. When it's new stuff that he knows isn't boring kibble. So that'll be a good challenge to practice with. But if you want to just start when you're prepping his food or Chrissy's food, that's a good baseline to work from. It's going to be less of a challenge. Good. That's a good dog. Okay, all done.